Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you're now tuned in to the Investor Show. As always, this is your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from a beautiful state, well, a beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. So as always, as you guys and girls are coming in, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And as always, I don't have a lot of time, and I definitely know you guys and girls don't have a lot of time, so we're going to jump straight into it. So here, what we're going to do today, we're going to do a quick little market update. We're going to do a quick little market update before we get into our topic. So as you're coming in, if you're catching this live, please drop where you're from. And as always, we'll do a little roll call, tell where people are calling from or where they checking in at. So we got one comment here. JR says Metta. So yes, we do have Metta here. He is live in the studio today. So that's right. You're going to be able to hear from NBA champ. He needs no introduction. Metta is definitely here. Harloom Financials, he's calling in from Palm Beach, Florida. So before we jump into that, let's jump into what we've seen today. So as of late, we've seen the market today was going on 500 points. The Dow Jones is going on 500 points to 22,100. We are still down right now below the bear market. We are 1,500 below our bear market. And does everybody know the bear market is sitting at 23,600, and a bear market is 20% drop in the Dow Jones. Also, this Friday, we have the unemployment status situation report, which is going to give us our new unemployment numbers for the month of March. That's going to be big. Also, President Trump came out. He extended our stay in place all the way into April 30th. So we're going to look at some short-term drops. Some potential short-term drops as businesses are not allowed to be open. And then also on top of that, today Johnson & Johnson jumped up, which pretty much rallied the market for the most part with their possible vaccinations that I know a lot of people don't trust or whatever the case may be. But they're up 7% right now. But leading the market, Apple, Alphabet, and Microsoft, the companies that I told you guys that was pretty large on capital, they're running the market right now. That could be a good indicator of what's going on. But that is right. We do have Metta World Peace online right now. And first, let's go through and do a little roll call. We have Harloom Financial say he's coming in from Palm Beach, Florida. Okay, GR, he's out. Greetings from LA. We have Miss T. Wilson Phillips from Princeton, New Jersey. Okay, we have Israel from Missouri. Randy Johnson, that's my guy right there. He's coming in. I know he's from Houston, Texas. We got GR. He said he's from LA, the home of the Lakers. Michael coming in and said, nice. This is going to be very informative. D. Brooks, that's my guy. He's coming in from Alabama. We got Mindy checking in from Texas as well. And who else we got in here? We got the Tech Monkey calling in from Hawaii. Not Hawaii, but California. And yes, second, we're going to get into that later, okay? Apple Gala said the 2010 NBA Finals 3-point shooter, Metta World Peace. Okay. And we got Michael Griffin coming in from Atlanta. Okay, so that's our quick roll call. So without further ado, let me bring in my guest today, Mr. Metta World Peace, who needs no introduction. So, Metta, how's it going today?
Yeah, everything is good. You know, today's been one of those days where you're trying to just adjust, to the social distancing and sheltering, in home and all this stuff. So other than that, still a lot of people are trying their best to stay engaged, with one another. So it's been cool.
Nice. Okay. So I know people know you from basketball, sports, all that good stuff like that. But obviously here on the Investor Show, we're going to talk about investing. We're going to look at over your career. You earn millions and millions of dollars, right? And not like I'm pocket watching anything, but you earn plenty of contracts. And I estimated from my looking at contracts, I could be wrong. I estimated about $90 million. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep, $90 million, right? See, I've done my research. So you earn about $90 million in your NBA career over your, I know you played overseas, you did things like that. But the first thing I want to get people into and what to talk about, did Metta World Peace decline equity with vitamin water?
Yeah, I did. When I was younger, I declined the equity. I didn't decline it. I actually didn't really know what equity was. I was about 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't really into finance at that age. Actually, maybe I was 23. I wasn't really into finance, and at that time, I was offered a little bit of equity. It was actually a really cool story. There was a story that I love telling because it's still people to this day that don't really understand equity, cap table, shares, and so many things that the younger the youth don't understand about finance. So that was a really good humbling story. Something that I learned, and now I have lots of equity in different companies.
Now I want to give you that question. I want to ask for people out there asking, can you tell us the story of you and Vitamin Water? How did that happen, and what happened with the whole equity?
Well, Vitamin Water, very nice guys. I forget their name. Really, really nice guys. So in my community, they were doing you call it guerrilla marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a basketball league called the Artest Tournament or something like that. And in that league, we had lots of kids, and I put Vitamin Water on the shirts because Vitamin Water was coming to my community and giving the water in water, right? So I tried it a couple times, and Vitamin Water was able to take pictures. With me putting they're taking pictures and using those pictures and actually, in my community. So then they came back to me for equity. They called me to a meeting later, 2 months later. And then after that, I was just like, nah, I'd rather you give me cash if you want me to endorse. But they was raising money to grow their company, right? So they were the celebrities to give, 200,000, $1 million, and with that money, they was going to put it back into the company, right? But then, that whole concept was really foreign. So then 4 months later, that's when they sold the Coke. Literally sold the Coke, like right. They was moving off the shelves. It's really cool. It was a real experience.
Nice. Okay. So he spoke about equity. He just spoke about owning a portion of the company was the equity deal that he had, and everybody know that Coca-Cola came along and purchased Vitamin Water. Now let's go to more modern day. Just last year, I saw you on the episode of Shark Tank with a clothing line called Butter. Can you tell me what was the deal with that, and how did that go down, and what was your whole place into that business?
Well, it's a lot of great startup companies out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Off is a college shirt company, college shirt materials. It's a 6-way stretch. You put the shirt on, you button it up. You could actually work out in it, or you could go to a meeting. Took that shirt on Shark Tank with it was an idea from the founders. But actually, before that, I was at a digital advertising agency. I'm into digital advertising and digital marketing. So when I went to the digital ad agency called Mu6, they had all the products that they do ad buys for. So they're spending like $160 million a year on ads for other companies. So I put this shirt on. I'm like, wow. My reaction was just like, that was the reaction they wanted. But I put the shirt on, and it was so comfortable. And then they said, hey, would you want me? I said, absolutely. I would love to be a part of the company. And they said, hey, would you want some equity, whatever? I said, yeah, I would love equity. So I got 5% of that company. Went on Shark Tank. They invested $250 grand. And then we had a couple huge months where we did like 7 million in a month, 8 million in a month. And that company should be around for a long time. It's a really good company. They'll get into jackets. They'll get into jeans. So that was a really cool story.
Okay, so that's good. So your whole part was in that you got 5% of the company, and you was able to help them pretty much. I'm pretty sure you was a nice pitch to get on the Shark Tank because they kind of had the NBA version.
Well, Shark Tank was a lot. NBA owners, NBA players, but we did everything we had to do. We was online. There was about 1,000 people there. We was at, it took us hours to get to present to. Is about 20 people you're presenting to, and the producers walking around. So it's a bunch of tables like cubicles, and everybody's pitching. They call your number, you go in there and you pitch for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then if they like your pitch, they get your number, they'll call you back and say, okay, you made the show. So then when you make the show, you pitch, and yet that episode still might not make it to live TV. But our episode made it to live TV, and then he said, yes, I'll invest. We negotiated on the spot, on television, and then it takes about 2 to 3 months for the deal to actually go through on Shark Tank.
Wow, nice, good deal. Man, I actually went through that in 2016. I went through the whole thing. I got a phone call back. I just didn't make the live episode. I didn't make the live episode back then at that time. But now let's get into. I saw you say something on Dr. Phil's show, right? Did you invest into Lyft?
I got into Lyft, but the Lyft deal. It was a good deal. I put some capital in, and I did about 0.5. I didn't do 1x. I did about 0.5. Return. After 4 years.
When you invested in Lyft, this is before they went to the market, or this was after they was already?
I invested at $22 a share, and then I got out at $47 a share. And I pulled out right away because once you invest through a third party, which is like a middleman, and when Lyft goes public, you can't pull your money out for 6 months. That was the contract we had. So Lyft, it went public, and it hit about $60 at one point. Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow. So I got out at $47, and then Lyft continued to go down. Mm-hmm. Even before this crisis, Lyft was it hit $18 at one point. Now Lyft was going back up with the crisis. A lot of people was taking Lyfts, I think, because the shares are going back up. So yeah, I got out of Lyft early. I wish I would have gotten at an earlier level. Perhaps a Series C round, something like that.
Wow, nice. So what he's talking about is the lockout period. The lockout period is once a company goes public, initial investors, they have to stay within the company. Sometimes it could be 3 months, usually somewhere between 90 to 180 days before the initial investors can pull out. And they do that because if a company goes public and all the early investors pull out at the same time, it could crash the stock. So, that was the lockout period. Am I correct on that, Metta?
Yeah, you're correct. And I got in at $22, and now I think Lyft is at $22 again. So I'm assuming that Lyft is going to be okay because it's a really solid company. It's a solid company, and obviously the market is correcting itself. But I feel like Lyft is going to be one of those companies where you'll see those shares go up. They'll probably start getting into other sectors because they have so much data on people and how they behave. Right, that's a recipe for success, and going into a different field. So I think Lyft to be okay.
Okay, now that's a good thing. Well, why not Uber? Why not? I personally like Uber more than I like Lyft.
Uber, I didn't know anyone. A lot of people got into these things, and for me, I didn't have a big network of investors, so I had to go. I was going to Silicon Valley once a week.
Wow.
And how I got into the Lyft, I was going to Wall Street. I didn't have no private equity, right? So when I got into the Lyft, I said, I'm going to New York. I'm going to Wall Street. I'm going to do everything on Wall Street. I'm going to eat on Wall Street. I'm going to work out on Wall Street. I'm going to jog on Wall Street, everything. And what I did was I was working out at an Equinox on Wall Street. I was doing abs next to a person, and I knew people would know me, and I'm social, so I talked to anyone, right? So I'm doing abs, and the guy said, hey, how you doing? So in my mind, I'm working that whole week. I went by myself, and it was a networking trip. So I go there, and he says, what's up? You doing? I said, what do you do? He said, I work at a investment company. I said, oh, cool. He gave me his card. He wasn't the CEO. So on these trips that I go on, I would prefer to speak to the CEOs, CFOs, right? So I said, okay, bring me to the office. And then he introduced me to his founder of the company, called Forte Finance. They used the national securities platform to invest, right? So I was doing abs, and that's how I got into Lyft. I'm going to Silicon Valley. Yeah, I go into Silicon Valley once a week, and I met founder of SurveyMonkey. I met one of the partners at Sequoia, partners from Guggenheim, just traveling, having lunch, meeting people. What do you do? What do you do? Oh, wow. Networking, and then building these relationships for a long period of time. Now I have in my X1X company behind you, we have the founder of SurveyMonkey. We have the chairman of Wix is involved. We have the chairman of FC Barcelona, first investor in Skype. We have so many other people that's looking at getting involved and investing in LA Times. So many, and it's all for me. I had to really, it was really a one-man show. I didn't have nobody saying, "Hey, Metta, it's a good deal over here. Hey, it's a good deal over here." It was me actually going to get deals and going to get partnerships.
Now, when you would take these trips, because you living up in LA, you take these trips up to Silicon Valley. Where would you go? Would you just go to a Burger King? Like, what would you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I would do, I'm very risky. So the first thing I did in Silicon Valley was I went to Sand Hill Road. Sand Hill Road is where all the big VCs are. I was knocking on doors. What does your VC company do?
Wow.
He's like, "We run a test, Metta. Yeah, this is what do you knock on the door?" And it's not a hard thing to just knock. And you get, in worst case scenario, you get turned away, right? So then I went so I parked on Palo Alto because I heard about Palo Alto. This is 2014, 2015. I'm like, oh wow, I'm learning about investing. So I would stay at the Sheraton at Palo Alto, or stay in the Four Seasons at Red Hill. I forget the name of the area. And when you stay in Palo Alto, which is like the king of investing, the kings of investing in America, at least, the hotels are not as expensive, which is like kind of surprising. It's right across the street from Stanford. So I was doing everything in those areas. And then I started to go to San Francisco because my whole thing was Palo Alto had more of the investors, but real sophisticated investors are everywhere. So I started to spread out, and then I started to even go overseas. I was going to Italy twice a year. I had an investor out there, and then I received so much information from giving pitch decks, asking for money, getting turned down, right? And that helped me figure out the type of team that I needed to go in and receive investments, from investors.
Okay. So we're going to take a little break here for a couple questions. We got, he said, "I was mad at Metta in 2008, 2009. Then he joined my favorite team. And I'm like, thank God. Even saw Lamar Odom talking about it on Drink Champs yesterday." Okay. And then he says, "A lot of athletes go broke investing in flashy industries instead of common day, everyday needed industries." What do you have to say about that, Metta?
I really like it. I really like that question. I really like that comment, because it's not always the sexy business that'll give you a return. But the thing about athletes, I don't really get on an athlete for going broke, because nobody understands what an athlete's going through. 19 years old, 18 years old, you just received 20 million. And now you got people giving you advice. You have one person, good advice. Next person, not so good advice. Next person, great advice. Smart person and successful. Next person, got your best interest at heart. You don't know who's who, right? So then sometimes you have family members who know what they're doing. But if you don't, you're going to spend. You're not thinking about inflation. You're not thinking about investing. You're not thinking about a lot of things. Now, some people are, but every athlete is different. But what athletes, they do is they stimulate the economy. Sometimes they make bad decisions, but they're hiring people that they might not even know, and stimulating the economy by giving these people salaries. But it's all about how you go about it, right? Are they getting a tax return on it? So there's certain things that, when you fall into lots of money, certain things you can do to preserve your wealth. Now, in terms of the flashy industries, you got to think about an athlete. An athlete is extreme. An athlete wants to be the best at every single thing that they do. So if they see something popping, they're going to want to invest. Music is flashy. It's Hollywood. Movies, flashy Hollywood. Beverage, an app. Let's do an app, right? And they have good intentions going in. So with that being said, how do you teach an athlete about the non-sexy businesses? And the only way you could do that, you got to expose the athlete to non-sexy businesses. Like I'm invested in a plumbing logistics company, right? And it's not flashy. We're not going around and popping bottles, throwing parties at a club, promoting our plumbing business, right? But it's it's going to potentially have some really good returns. We got big VCs invested, but I had access to that because I met somebody, right? So non-sexy businesses are not actively pursuing athletes because they don't need an athlete, right? So then that's why athletes don't typically get into, as he would call it, flashy, the common everyday needed industries.
Got it. So essentially you're saying that, hey, look, the athletes, they don't get into regular everyday industries because those are not really presented to them because they really don't need your money versus the flashy companies. They need your money to help raise capital. Am I correct on that?
If the flashy companies don't necessarily need your money, they necessarily.
Okay, I think he
paused. Celebrity.
Okay, go ahead now. Say again. You kind of paused up for a second.
Yeah, I seen it go pause too. I was saying the flashy companies don't necessarily need your money. They need your celebrity because with your celebrity, they can get around quicker. They can start pushing ads, and then attracting, visitors or users, whatever the case may be, consumers, customers, whatever the case may be. That's why the flashy companies want celebrities. And then, they will love a celebrity's money because with the celebrity's money attached, that celebrity's going to give more, to the company.
Got it. Okay. He said, Episode says, advertising has a lot of potential, just as Rupert Murdoch. That's the guy who owns the CEO of Fox. Okay.
I mean, I get it, but why did you say that? What was the purpose of saying that? Was there a reason? Maybe he can send you another comment.
Yeah, I think it was this comment coming through. But the next question we got Max B coming. That's my guy coming from New Orleans. He said, would you get into the marijuana industry like other basketball players?
Yeah, a little grammar correction over there.
Yeah,
but we understand what you're talking about. The reason I'm not getting in THC business, not because I don't like the business, not because I don't like THC, is because I'm mostly involved in sports, as you can see behind me. My app is launching actually at the end of April, so hopefully everybody could download it and participate with just building sports communities. But so I'm not typically in the marijuana business because I just don't want to be in it. I don't mind it. If I was in the marijuana business and this was a marijuana logo, maybe I'll be smoking on this show right now, and I'm not opposed to it. But for me personally, I just didn't want to be in that business, even though it's lucrative, even though it's a big opportunity in marijuana right now, CBD and product, but it's just something I didn't really want to do.
Okay. All right. Got the Silver Lion standing there from Staten Island. Shane, how's it going? Shane is checking in from Memphis, Tennessee. Michael Griffin says, good content. I think somebody says, Chuckle said, MWP.
What's up, homie?
And there you go. He said, MWP. JR says, any partnerships with any other NBA players or Lakers?
I personally don't have partnerships with NBA players. The reason is I like to have all my ducks in a row before I go to any NBA player or anybody in sports with an investment opportunity, because I know the stories behind new businesses going after athletes. So for me, I have to make sure that everything is moving in the right direction. Now, at this point in time, I have been going out to some athletes because I feel like things are going in the right direction. I think it's a good company to be a part of what we're doing, and we have a really good team. So now I feel like I'm more inclined to, And then when we get to the next step, and when we actually launch and things is going well, then I'll be more aggressively, soliciting, investments and giving opportunities for people to come in and invest, in an early stage company. We're hoping to be, obviously with the crisis, kind of push some things back, but we're hoping to be going into the A round, about March, with our company.
Got it. Okay. The next question comes from Michael Griffin. He said, "What is your motivation? You've been through a lot, but you keep finding a way to make it. What drives you?"
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know what drives any person, any human. What drives you, and everybody has something that drives them. People are interested in different things. Your environment kind of dictates what you're going to be more inclined to do. I love sports. I love helping people. I want to see more of the common folk, that non-professional sports people have opportunities to get involved in sports industries, anything where sports affect the outcome of success. A lot of people don't know how to get into these industries. So what we're doing is we're creating community. So you'll be able to have people to talk to. You'll be able to get your stories out. And then also you'll be able to put to action. So we want to create a platform where you can create community and then put stuff actually to action. Our platform is fun. You can post video, picture, free form text, follow, obviously. You can also compete in recreational basketball games. So if you're just somebody that works at Starbucks and you want to play a game after you get off work, you can find a basketball game on our platform. All that, and you can talk about it. You can post about it. You can also find scrimmages if you want to just like find a scrimmage, and get some stats on yourself real quick. You can do that also. Yeah, you can, and it stays with you for your life, right? It stays with you for lifetime. So, we're creating a platform for athletes and sports enthusiasts, and we feel a lot of people that don't even know it yet.
Wow.
Interviews I was doing with people, one lady was an expert at CRMs, customer relationship management systems, and I did a sports forum, and she said, "Why?" She said, "Really, I shouldn't be here, but I just thought it was interesting." I said, "No, you should be here because athletes need CRMs. Athletes don't typically have a CRM to make a decision on what product they're going to sell, on what business they're going to get involved in, right? So these are all the things that we're trying to create here at Experts Exports."
Got it. Nice. Another thing I want to get into was you spoke about, I think it was either on Dr. Phil or CNBC or one of the channels you were on. You were speaking about how you raise money. You were saying instead of using your own money, how companies and athletes and people raise money. Now that's the concept that, maybe the everyday person may not have access to or may have access to, but you was talking about how most people don't know about it. Can you tell people out there, because I know you're big into investing because you've been, like you said, you've been knocking on doors in Silicon Valley. That's how you were able to get in the lift. First time I met you was at Berkshire Hathaway. I was very shocked to see you there, right? And now I want to ask you the question of how do you yourself, how do you raise funds? I have an idea, I have a good product, and I want to raise funds. How do people go about doing that?
That's a great question. I always like to teach people how to raise money. So right now you'll hear people say the most investors are white males, right? And you hear people say that it's really hard to raise money. So I feel a couple of ways about that. Because at a point when I was raising money, people was taking my call, but I didn't have a good presentation. The first thing you want to focus on is your presentation, right? So if you have a business idea, it's only an idea, right? So if you're trying to raise money off an idea, that's really difficult. Now that's where it comes to angel investors, which is people right? So typically in our community, we don't have angel investors. But in the industry of investing, it's lots of angel investors. But the angel investor is also a sophisticated investor also. They want to make money and they want to see your idea. And if they say this doesn't make sense, they're not typically looking at your skin color, right? They're not typically looking at your gender. They're looking at, you never ran a company before. I'm not about to give you angel money, right? So go through the process before you get to wanting to raise money. Have you ever had a job? Have you ever tried to start any type of business? Put yourself through an exercise in your communities. Try to sell shirts to the people walking around. Try to sell a straw. Try to, whatever you spend, try to at least break even or make more. Track the data, track the stats, track what's happening in your business. Prepare yourself before going and asking somebody for a little money. Because now when you get the little money, you can take that little money and really start to expand on your business idea, right? So now typically people ask, who's your team, right? When you get to the big investors. Well, if you're starting out, you don't have a team, right? So you want to be honest, you want to show the roadmap to success, and this is what we want to do. So you definitely want to have a business plan, which is put everything down on paper. I would use Google Docs. I would use Word doc. Put everything that you want to do down on that paper, and you want to see it. And it has to make sense from the marketing to the team. If you can't quite fill in slots to people you want to hire, at least the investor should know that you know where you want to go. You know the type of person that you want on your team, right? After you do the business plan, and actually after you did your research first on why you're getting involved in this business, then you do your business plan. After you do your business plan, try to start to put together some financials. Use Google Sheets. Use Word or Microsoft Excel. Now, when you're starting out, I would use Google products because Google products are a little bit easier than Microsoft products. Now, I would learn Microsoft products. That's the products you want to use, okay? Google Word doc, Microsoft, Word Excel, Microsoft, PowerPoint, Microsoft, okay? And that's your picture. That's where things is going to get colorful, and I'll talk about that in a second. But if you can't quite understand how to do those documents, then go to Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Slides. Real simple, right? Now, and then you can go on YouTube and learn how to work these products. So then after your ideation and you get to your business plan and you put some financials to match whatever the business plan is saying, right? Then you want to go to your pitch deck. You want to get right to the design, colorful pictures, go on YouTube, figure it out, and you want to have that ready. You want to have that pitch deck ready, and then when they ask for more information, you have the information ready, to go. You also want to have some type of concept, proof of concept. If you're selling water, did you try to sell water? Did you try to get it in stores? Did you try to go direct to consumer? If you had an app, did you launch, or did you at least do some research saying that this app makes sense, because obviously an app costs. You got to pay for development. You got to pay for a product design. So do you have any type of proof of concept that the investor can see? Okay, you spend your own money, or your own time, and okay, this possibly makes sense. Okay, and then if it's an application or something like that, I would say at least go from your business plan, financials, go to your pitch deck, and then you can get to your designs. Some people get right to the developing, of the app, and then the actual app, it doesn't make sense with the business model and the financial model. All this has to be connected, right? Your financial model needs to be saying exactly what your product is saying, what your app is saying, what your clothing line is saying, what your beverage is saying, what your logistics company is saying. It needs to be speaking. The pitch deck needs to be speaking exactly to what you're pitching your investor, right? So now it's starting to make sense, right? So that took you 2 months, 3 months, and it should take you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to really pitch that investor. You don't want to be in there for an hour unless the investor's asking you question after question. That's a great thing. You should be able to get that thing done in 15 minutes and say thank you, see you later. Your whole pitch should be done. And I think that's how you raise money. Typically people ask for, hey, can you give me 25 grand? You could ask an angel investor for 25 grand. You can't really ask a real investor for 25 grand. Unless they want to do you a favor. Because we know 25 grand is not enough for to start a company. Right? So now if you say, hey, I need $1 million, but we want to call on the money in increments, I think they might understand that more. They say, okay, we want to call on 25 grand every 2 weeks or 50 grand a month. That might make more sense. You give the investor the option to say, hey, if you don't like where it's going, then you don't have to put any more money in. But sometimes when you're going to investors that I only need 100 grand or $100,000, $200,000, or just $50,000, typically the investor can see right through that, because if the investor started a company, they probably started a company with $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, So you want to tell the investor like what you need per month, something like that to keep going. They call it a burn rate. But I don't think it's smart if you go into it and ask them for little money, and then that's all you need, and you don't know what you need after. What do you need after the 25 grand is month? What do you need after the 50 grand is month? So it's little things like that where along the way, I'm able to sit here today, 2020, at 40 years old and give back that knowledge. I'm raising money for this company, and now it's time to actually put to action, right? So I'm hoping I could be there in 2024 and be given a whole nother lesson on how to actually put companies, to action, to execute.
Got it. Nice. Look at y'all watch Metta play basketball for so many years, but how many people sat back and heard Metta World Peace, out of all people, the guy who ran in the stands back in Indiana, sit back now and talk about raising funds, raising funds for a startup. That's pretty awesome. That's why I'm glad to have you on. So let's jump back to some questions. Okay. Absolutely says thank you. And Max B asked the question, what type of business do you like to invest in? Pretty much what they're saying.
So right now, sometimes you can invest alongside your friends. So I got some really good, successful friends where they bring deals to me. And I'm like, okay, I'll put some money into it. But now I only want to invest in companies where I could affect the outcome of success. And that's it. I try to build product, and I try to have companies I'm aligned with where if I invest in a company, I can actually help that company, right? So this company here, some companies that I invest in, can my company help the company I just invested in? Can my team help the company that I invested in? Because if I can't help the company I'm invested in, then it's taking a lot of time for me. And time is so valuable, right? So you don't want to, me typically, I don't want to get involved in things where I gotta be there every single day.
Yeah,
I gotta actually be way more involved. I want to be able to affect the outcome of that company I invested in success by using my team. Because my team actually, a lot of my team members have equity in my company, so it's in their best interest that the companies I invest in do well, because then everybody, does well, because I invest from my holdings company. I don't invest personally. Right. So that's typically how I think about going about investments.
All right. We got Kevin here coming in from Facebook. He said, Metta, what stocks are you buying?
There's a lot of stocks I like. I like AMD. AMD in 2014, that was a stock my son told me about. They were at about $5 as a semiconductor. They went all the way up to about $60 to $70. Obviously, everything dropped during this time. NVIDIA is another semiconductor, and they were at about $100 when AMD was at about $7. NVIDIA went up to about $300. Microchip. Microchip is another semiconductor I like. I like VFF. These are all MCHP is Microchip ticker symbol on the Nasdaq. NVIDIA is NVDA. AMD is AMD. I also like VFF, Village Farms. It's a marijuana company. that company, when I invested, it was at like $1. It reached about $5 to $6. And so now it's not doing so well. Today it's at about $3. I like Chrome, CRON on the ticker symbol. It's another cannabis company. Obviously, Amazon is solid. Amazon's going to be really solid. Amazon is they're not they're not skyrocketing, but they a small dip and they're going back up a little bit. One of the only companies that was in green, right? Everything was in red. If you looked on the ticker symbol. So Amazon is safe. I think Apple and Facebook, all these companies, to be solid once they figure out what's happening. Then you get so Unified was another company that was delivering food to Whole Foods before Amazon came and kind of crushed their business. But in this crisis, Unified used to be at $50, $60. They dropped to $5 before the crisis.
Wow.
Right. And now when the crisis happened, and now they went back up to $13, $20. So that's an interesting company because I haven't done enough research. I don't know when we get back to normal life, does Unified go back off the map? That's a real interesting company. BRK, our boy. I still think that's a safe bet when you invest in Warren Buffett.
BRK, guys, that's Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, Berkshire Hathaway. I'm investing in Berkshire, and it dropped. Its Class A share was worth about $350,000 last month. Now it's worth about maybe $250 right now, somewhere. And then his Class B is about $175. Maybe he's $170 because it went up to $200. Warren Buffett, he's so ready. He got cash, so he's gonna do something.
Oh yeah,
special. Yeah, he's gonna do something special. So those are the type of companies I like, and I learned a lot from Prince also. I met you 4 years ago.
Yep.
Right. So speaking to people like yourself, or having conversations with you about investing, I really appreciate you. I'm lucky enough to be able to talk to people like you.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So the next question, somebody said, what company or business is going to get the Metta World Peace elbow this year? Meaning, what do you think is on the outs this year? Something to stay away from.
Man, that's a hell of a question, man, because the events companies, the restaurants, they're all trying to survive. Hospitality, trying to give hospitality to people. Oh, wow. So it's going to be really interesting. Now, luckily, years ago, we were getting involved in Uber Eats and DoorDash. Imagine if that wasn't available right now. These restaurants would be shot in the ass, dead, right? But now they're surviving by the skin of their teeth. Some restaurants, I heard one story. One restaurant was doing $300,000 a month. When the crisis happened, they was doing $500,000.
Wow.
$500.
Wow. Wow. $500.
Dollars.
Wow.
A day. In a day. $500 a day. Not the month. $500 a day. Went from doing a couple, maybe $30,000 a day, $15,000 a day, some nice number like that, to $500 a day. Now these companies got to figure it out, right? So if you're invested in any, it's certain food and beverage companies that's going to do well, I believe, like Beyond Meat. Who wants an animal product today, right? In America maybe, but so Beyond Meat, these companies are going to do well. They're thriving on the stock market right now. All these plant-based foods. So that's something I think to really focus on. And individually, I think if you have a trade, not many of us Americans have a trade, and trades is very important when you're in the house or when people can't get out, and you can't receive a salary. What can you do? Can you build a table, right? Are you good plumbing? I think trades is something that we need to know. Farming. Do you even know how to plant an orange? I don't. But in situations like this, it's important that we teach our kids, moving forward. Not only teaching our kids about investing, but teaching our kids about surviving.
Okay.
It's very important.
Next question here. B Max said, "What's up, Prince and Metta? Good info as always. All right. Thanks. Outsiders come back in. Imagine Meta as a boxing promoter. Now that's a theater. Meta signing all of the boxers from Queens, St. Louis, Cincinnati, Vegas, and Detroit. Is that something you'll be interested in, Meta? A boxing promoter?
That's a passionate business. That's something that I can give my time to. I love boxing. So I have a couple of different boxing businesses. I got one where I'm 10% owner of a company called Sharp Sports.
Wow.
And our fighters is 13-0. Pablo the Shark Rubio. And then another one of our fighters lost one fight. He's from Colombia. He was really good. He lost the fight. He went back home. And then I also have a business management company where we work with Canelo Alvarez, which is a really,
wow,
really cool.
Tell us the connection between Canelo Alvarez and Metta World Peace. A lot of people don't know about that.
Well, we don't manage him as a fighter,
mm-hmm.
right? We just have a business management company where we pay bills, taxes, reconciliations on the side, right? And we have some NBA players. We got some real estate tycoons. We got all sorts of clients in that business. And another lady runs it. Her name is Christina Pereza. She's the big boss lady. I just made the initial investment in the company. I really like that company, and I'm really happy that we have a boxer because I just love boxing so much. After this crisis, I'm talking to K9 Bundridge, the champion from Detroit. He's about 43 years old now. So he's exiting his boxing career, and we're talking about actually coming together and doing boxing together. So we'll be the back office, and then he'll be the front man. And we're talking about coming together. We have a really good relationship. So boxing is definitely something that I'm passionate about. You can see I got sports, and if it was up to me, I would have started with boxing. I love boxing, but we're starting with basketball. And we'll get to boxing. But that's a really good question. As you can see, my eyes lit up when you talk about boxing.
That's a good question now. Okay. So now this is Michael from Canada. He says, "Good afternoon, Prince. Mr. World Peace, I remember watching you play with St. John's Red Storm. Congratulations on a great basketball career. Prince, as always, thank you for your knowledge." All right. Thank you there.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Ron, man, been doing his research and preparation.
Thank you. So gotta stay involved. We gotta stay engaged. Everybody should.
Okay. Next question said, not to pocket watch, but do you think do you make more money playing basketball or investing? And what was your best investment?
Well, definitely basketball, because I haven't had any of those unicorn investments, nor am I searching for you. So I haven't had a unicorn investment where, I know people that invested 50 grand in Uber 10 years ago. And then in November, they take out a $75 million check.
Wow.
Some people invested in 250 grand and they're taking home 1.2 billion. if I get that lucky, great. I won't be upset. Right? But you can find these companies, you can find these founders, actually. You can find these founders and you can find these teams. A company is gonna come and go. Founder and the team is going, that's the person that you want to understand, right? But yeah, I haven't had any unicorn investments. The biggest investment was basketball, practicing, training, and that's how I got here. So nothing has trumped that since.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because that's a lot of money that you make,
Yeah, definitely.
So, and another thing I wanted to bring up was I wanted to talk about what is your relationship with Twist Capital. I saw you was interviewing the CEO of Twist Capital. I did watch it in interviewing its entirety, right? And I know they said y'all was in some type of business or whatnot. What type of investment do you have going on with Twist Capital, and what is Twist Capital?
I love Twist. Twist Capital is a special purpose fund, so we invest in some distressed companies, tech companies preferably. I'm a partner in Twist Capital, investor in Twist Capital. And Twist Capital, the lead founder is Sean Mediani, former partner from Guggenheim. former partner from Blackstone Ventures, which is a big real estate company, big real estate fund. So, right now it's not an ideal situation for us as humans, but we invest in distressed tech companies, right? So now we're getting so many companies that are going under where we're going to be coming in, and we come in more as operators also. Right? We come in and we really, figure out how can we help the operations team. Downside protection, we prefer to invest in companies where we have downside protection. Just in case if the company loses everything, we don't lose everything, right? But right now, we are actively pursuing companies. So Twist Capital, we have a really good team. Here, office located in Beverly Hills. It's another business I'm involved in, and that's more. It's like a non-sexy business because we're not looking to go 100x with our investments. We're only looking to do 3x. So that's the companies we invest in. We believe we're going to do 3x. Now if we do 10x or 100x, that's always fun. But that's not like Apple Cider said. It's not flashy businesses that we're looking at.
Got it. Okay. Now the thing about it, you said so. Pretty much, you guys pretty much find distressed tech companies that are going through it right now, especially in the coronavirus era. You guys are going through probably like what Warren Buffett is probably going to end up doing, buying up all the little guys. Am I correct on that?
Well, it's not buying them up because we don't want control and interest. Right? We still want to leave the founders with control and interest. So we're not going to just be buying them up, but just investing.
Okay. Now, why does it seem like it's so much money out here, like in Silicon Valley, like you spoke about earlier, venture capitalists, when he said VCs, it's so much money out there to be raised and go get, but it seems so elusive, especially when it comes down to the startups and in certain communities?
Well, the thing is like that, this is the main thing. So if you're going to run a company, especially as parents in our communities, it's very important you teach your kids economics. Right? Not many of us understand economics. Starting a business, running a company, being a CEO of a company, maybe being the VP of a company, operating a company, right? And if you don't have those skills, it's gonna be hard for you to receive investment from your mother.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So in our communities, which we're big advocates for, it's really important that we give them these tools, not only the skills to know how to rap, not only the skills to know how to play ball, right? The skills to run a business, sell lemonade on the street. How much money are you making? Make cookies, sell cookies, right? Sell meals, consult. You might not make what the big boys make in the consulting firms here, $100,000. A client, you might make $10. I'll help you with your music business. You give me $10 a week, right? Get involved in business. And I think that's the number one reason is like if you had $100,000 right now and you went to Brazil, and say you went to Brazil to the slums, and some kid say, "Hey, I got an idea. Can you give me $20,000?" You probably won't give that kid $20,000. And not because you don't like the kid. You go to Detroit, Buffalo, Chicago, some kid from Chicago, yo, I got an idea. Maybe he got a hoodie on. Maybe he's not smelling right. Maybe he's not looking right. Would you give her $15,000 to start up her business as a black person? So it's not. I want people to remove the race. Now, are we? Now we're way behind in terms of the experience. We don't have that. Now that's something we can remove. The education part, that's a problem, right? So now how can we educate our kids, and so they can learn how to receive investments? How can we educate our adults? If you're 40 years old, if we teach you this now, by the time you're 45, you're going to be young, right? You're going to be just hitting your stride. 45-year-olds have good ideas also. And that's something we forget too. We forget to give. We always giving back to the youth. We forget to give back to the adults. Teach the adults. I'm 40 years old. I just started to learn this when I was 32. Just started to learn. So I think that's the main reason why people in our communities don't receive investments. Now, when you talk about somebody like yourself or myself, it's still. I still believe that we still have to become better at preparing our companies, because why do we need investments? Why can't we just go right after growth and revenue? Why do we have to depend on someone's investment? If you have a business that doesn't require investment, why are you going out trying to receive investments? Just start your business, right? Just grow your business.
Well, what do you say to the person that says the rule of thumb of spread the risk out? Don't use your money, use other people's money.
Okay.
Spread the risk out. What do you say about that?
I agree. Definitely, if you don't have to use your money, try to use someone else's money, but you got to be prepared. There's people out there that would be willing to give you your money, because some people that have capital, they might not want to be operating a business, but they want to be involved, right? So you can search out some of those people, and then don't only search for the typical investors that you see on television. Diversify your pitch to other ethnicities, other genders. There's females out there that invest. You're so quick to go to the man, and we don't go to the female. The female got millions, man. Right? My lead investment is females. The most money on my cap table from females.
Wow. Okay.
And minority females also, right? Okay. But the bulk of my cap table is the typical investment that white males, yeah. Right? But I'm very diverse. I don't have any black people on my cap table.
Wow.
And it's not by choice. I go to black people. I say, hey, I would love for you to be a part of my company, but I don't have any black people on my cap table. I do have females. I do have Asian. I do have Americans. I do have European. I have European. I have Indian. I have Italian. I have Indian. I would love to get some black investors.
Now, what do you? How much is needed to be on your cap table?
Well, we're still in the seed, right? We're still in the seed. So if it's the right investor. If it's the right investor, we'll let them in for a good amount. I can't really say I don't want to get in trouble with the SEC, so I don't want to say the exact number, but we let them in for a low amount. Right now, we're not taking $1 million checks from anyone. Yeah, we're not. We're definitely not exceeding $1 million checks. From anyone. We don't need that much money. Right now.
Well, what about breaking it more down to the common person, where it could be some common people with a regular 9-to-5? They may not be able to write a check for 50 grand or 60 grand or 100 grand, but they might be able to say, hey, those little checks may add up. They may be say, hey, I got 5,000 or I got 10,000 or 20,000. That may add up.
The reason I wouldn't take that right now from a smaller investor is because we have to protect the investors. That's why the SEC has rules. And we got to protect the investors. Now, if this was a startup company like Ground One, that's a little bit different. This company's been around for quite some time, and we have people on the cap table that are accredited investors. And an accredited investor, you at least have to have $5 million in the account. Now, that's not fair for someone who don't have $5 million, but they want to. So I don't believe that's fair. But you don't want somebody to come along for the ride and then lose 50 grand, lose 20 grand, and they needed that 20 grand for a company that has no revenue yet. So I wouldn't advise someone, I couldn't even let someone invest, in my company without being accredited, because I'm a corporation, right? So my company is a C Corp. And so it's rules that we have to abide by. But if it was a smaller company, a startup company, that's something that I'm willing to talk about. It's something I'm willing to teach about, or, we could have another discussion about good companies to look out for that you might want to put $5 grand into, things that you like, things that you're going to be there every day. Because if you put in $5 grand, 10 grand into a company a startup company, maybe someone in your neighborhood, you have to be there, right? You want to know what you're putting it into, right? You don't want to just go off a hitch, So, and those opportunities are out there, and maybe me and you, we can help them find, these opportunities, for anybody that would be wanting to invest.
All right, this is the last question here. He says, did you get caught in the oil getting killed the last few years? Do you think it will come back and restructure and be restructured?
I don't invest in oil. I don't care how much money I can make. You could put $1 billion on the table. You tell me to put 100 grand, I can make, 1.5, 2 million. I do not invest in oil. I don't invest in oil because I want oil to stay in the earth. I prefer oil to stay in the earth. I prefer us to figure out other solutions for energy. We have other solutions for energy. We need our oil. I don't care how much it is. Keep it in the earth so the earth can continue to rotate and we'll be okay. I don't think we should be pumping out oil.
Got it. Okay. And the other thing he said was, is there a curriculum you can point to for an 11-year-old, a 6-year-old girl to get some info? Because you spoke about our children being more educated on this.
That's great. And I think sitting down your children at the table, watching Prince Dykes for an hour after dinner. You can't go to your room. You can't go anywhere or you will be on punishment. The same way they have to clean their room, they have to do the dishes. Homeschool them with finance, homeschool them with investing, right? No phones today, no friends at 3 o'clock. You're looking at the economy, right? And now I don't have any particular or specific literature that a child could read. I would say listen to Prince Dykes. He's right here. And then having her listen to this discussion and having her ask questions. What does she want to do when she gets older? What type of business does she want to be involved in? Sometimes a kid can be overwhelmed if a parent is pushing business because a kid want to have fun. But you can introduce them. You can show them your water bill, show them your electric bill, go through it with them. If you have a life savings, teach them about it. If you don't have one, show them why you want to get a life insurance. You paid your taxes. Go through the taxes with them. Show them what you're doing to get your tax return. Have them read it, and then tell me when I can sign it, daughter or son. And just for fun exercises like that. Have them, use Google Sheets and they want money, put it on Google Sheets, whatever you want. How much are you spending? You can start to do little things to put them on a path, to becoming an investor, to being able to work for a startup company and change that company. Those little things you can do. Oh, that's a really good question. And good luck with your daughter.
All right. Last one. I promise this is the last one. He said, okay. He said, thank you, brother. And he's also got another one. He says, Metta World Peace, you need a Black investor. You're in luck. You're talking to a very talented, hardworking man. Prince, opportunity might be knocking at your door. Maybe one day.
Prince, yeah, you always welcome in our companies. And I mean, you add value because you're going to pay attention to the company, right? And you're going to pay attention, right, to the investment. So, and you can make a good decision. You can say yes or no, right? So, obviously, Prince is always welcome into our companies.
Last one. I promise. Eric Joseph says, just got in, but wondering what Metta World Peace have done out of high school. If it wasn't such a if you wasn't doing basketball, what would you probably would have done?
Let me turn off my alarm. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
All right, that's good. So if I wasn't playing basketball, so my original goal when I was 13 years old was to be a junior high school math teacher, making 35 grand a year. Because when you're young and you have no money and you're just struggling as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid and you don't want to sell drugs, you don't want to rob people, you maybe flirt with selling drugs. Like, what can I do so I never have to go to jail? Well, being a math teacher, I can make 35 grand a year. That was my goal. Then when I got to college, My first major was architecture. So I figured that if I don't make it to the pro, I'm gonna be the hoodest architect that's ever been seen. Get that goddamn architect. That's my mentality at the time. And at the time of a 19-year-old kid, I wasn't a great math student, but it was something I loved, and it was something that I was determined to do. Right. So then when I was starting to play basketball better, I said, okay, F education. It's all basketball. Put all your eggs in this basket. So that's why I got into basketball. I was going to put my eggs in one basket. I was not diversified. Right. Wow. So it was either in high school, it was a math teacher. And then in college, it was an architect.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to do.
Okay. All right, guys. He responds back. He says, respect that man. Okay. But all right, so that's going to be the last question. I don't want to hold you up. I thank everybody for tuning in. But is there anything you want to leave the people that's catching this live and the people that's going to catch the playback? Is there anything you want to leave them with?
You know what? I just want to say these are great questions, great conversation. I really appreciate you having me, Prince. And I think let's have more of these discussions. And let's put our kids in a good position where they can start investing, where they can receive investments and actually have the money hit their accounts. And let's start putting them in a position. I really enjoyed this discussion. And as you can see, I have a sports banner behind me, marketing for my company, but I want my company to represent something different other than sports. That's why I keep my banner behind me, because these discussions are super important. I appreciate the questions, and I appreciate you, Prince.
All right. As y'all guys can see, we kept it straight on investing, even though Metta's, he played in the league for so many years. And I was glad. I thought everybody was going to ask questions about Kobe Bryant, the Lakers, and this and that. But I like how everybody kept it on investing, and everybody kept looking into investing. So I definitely appreciate everybody for coming in. Until the next video, podcast, cartoon, book, or whatever else crazy you see me around the globe. Peace, be safe. I'm out, and thank you.
Thank you.